Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of our creative Minecraft series, where we're building Newport. If I haven't said that already, hopefully that's obvious. I hope you have all had a good week since I've last seen you in the last episode, episode 2. In this episode, we have a few different builds going on here. I think 6, 7 in total. I think it's 7. I can count, I swear. Past 5 at least. Or up. I'm spouting nonsense now. I am trying something new this time. I know normally I would cut off around here and just move to music, but I'm trying different things, seeing how people appreciate them or how I appreciate them. You know, we'll see how this goes. But I wanted to talk through at least a little bit of some of the time lapse because I do have some things I want to say. I mean, I feel like I should probably mention something about what I'm doing and maybe give some insight into what was going through my head in that moment. So as you can see here, we're building the most colorful building ever. To be honest, when I was first building it, especially without shaders, it's a lot. I think actually with shaders it's even more so. It's incredibly colorful. It is based off of a real life building that is also somewhat colorful, but it's also the fact that I wanted to get some of the shades from the real structure that's in New York City and transport that over with my design, because my design's different. I have differences here and there in how I built it and versus how the building I'm getting inspired by looks in real life. But I wanted to get the color scheme as close as I could, but some tones that exist in real life with stone and limestone or brick do not exist in Minecraft. And so I spent a very long time coming up with this color scheme, and this is the best as it got. To be honest, at first I didn't like it and I was prepared to get rid of it, and I was like, I don't know if I like this, but I just kept pushing myself to complete it and do it. I mean, right here, right now, what you're seeing, it may look like I'm just confidently placing blocks, but the entire time I was looking at it, I'm like, I don't know if I like this at all. I think I want to get rid of this. And truth be told, I started this building multiple times, like at least 2 times before now, and what you're seeing, and completely erased it and was like, this is terrible. I do not like this. But it's been a few days since I've recorded this, because I actually recorded this segment before episode 3 came out. And it's growing on me, and I actually kind of love it. It is funky, it's colorful, it is, let's be honest, it's strange, but I actually kind of like it. It also weirdly reminds me of Perry the Platypus. I think it's the orange and blue, and I genuinely thought about making a joke and putting a hat on it and, doing the whole meme of like, it's a platypus, it's Perry the Platypus, when you put the hat on. But, I decided against that. I'm saying it now though, so, yay. Yay for me. But as you can see here, I was very happy with this curve that I ended up getting with the acacia and stuff. I actually think the curve looks very nice. And the mangrove was a bit much at first. I was like, I don't know, this red, orange, blue thing, it's kind of a lot. But again, I think it's growing on me more because yes, it's strange, to be sure. It's not like it's definitely stands out, but I kind of like that it stands out. I think it actually helps it fit into the area better. As you can see there in the background, we are next to something we worked on last episode, which is that plaza, filling out some of the area around there. And a lot of the builds you'll see this episode are filling around the plaza. I can't promise that it's always going to be so coherent with how I build. I tend to go from this to that to this to that when I'm building in the city, and you'll even see in this episode there's one build. In fact, I think my favorite build in this entire episode is coming up next after this one finishes, and it's like not super far away, but it's not by the plaza. It's out on the other side of the baseball stadium, past what we did in the first episode. And I don't mean episode 0, but episode 1, like past all that stuff. But anyways, to say a little bit more, you can also see there's some structures on the other side of the plaza that weren't there last episode, or at least I don't think they were. And those builds are all builds that are from my old world that I've brought over, modified, updated. Because there's a lot of old builds that I genuinely love and I take over and I try to fit it in wherever I can and might make small changes just to make it fit with the new road layout. But then there's other builds, like some of the ones across the street, that needed a bit of work, and I went back and I changed different sections, even just small changes like shortening a tower here and there, fixing windows and things to give them more depth, or just to improve the builds. Because I mean, some of these builds are genuinely over 2 years old, almost 3 years old, and I've changed a lot since then. Minecraft has changed a lot since then. But anyways, this is the build that I was saying is my favorite of this episode, and sorry to ruin the fun. Please do stick around for more. I swear they're also good. But I genuinely loved this build so much. I love building it. I love how it looks. You can see there on the right side, that is the baseball stadium. And I'll possibly get into a little bit more. I do want to do a live play tour section this episode as well, like last episode, but we won't be building anything this time. It was really hard cutting that down last time. I think you can notice by the length of this episode being, probably a little after 20 minutes. I think right now it's at 21 minutes. I haven't recorded the outro segment with the tour yet, if you couldn't tell. So I don't actually know how long this episode is going to be exactly, but it's definitely not going to be as long as last episode. Last episode was like 40 something minutes. And I'm just going to tell you right now, before I edited it down a lot, it was over an hour and 15 minutes long. The original footage of that episode, the second episode, because there was so much live play that I did and I cut out so much of it. And I'm happy I did, because rewatching myself, so often I'd just be sat there in complete silence, not saying anything, just looking, because that's the way I tend to build. And I think if I do anything like that again, where I'm building like in person talking about it, I'm gonna do it more update style, because I know that I did it in a very updatey kind of style before, but that was only because I was like, oh, this is a tedious thing, I'm gonna go through it. But next time, if I build any structure, and feel free to say if you don't want this as the case, but I just think I work better when I'm not under pressure of being filmed. I mean, even doing these time lapses, the entire time I'm like, go, 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 go fast, no time to make decisions. I'm constantly second guessing myself, and I'm like, I have no time, because I don't want there to be an awkward long pause. But I'm trying to get better about that, because I don't want my builds themselves to suffer simply because I'm recording them, because that wouldn't be fair to me. It wouldn't be fair to you. You deserve to see the best I can do. At least that's my honest opinion. So I genuinely try to work well and to create structures that I am genuinely happy with for the video. And if there's ever anything that I'm not happy with, I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm okay with that. And I hope you're okay with that, because that's just how it's going to be. But so far, I think I am genuinely happy with a lot of stuff. Again, that first build was the only one where I was second guessing myself a lot and going, I don't know if I like this. I restarted recording it multiple times, because I'm like, you don't want to sit through watching me build and destroy entire sections of this building for forever. Who knows how long that would have been if I kept all that in. But that's also the part of the reason why you'll see a lot of buildings when I first start. You'll see an initial layout on the ground there, or floating technically, but you'll see like a layout of like generally where I want walls and windows. And that's a part of the reason why, because the planning process for me is a lot of like looking on Google Earth or on Pinterest, whatever I'm using to get inspiration or working from. And then it's going into Minecraft, seeing like, okay, how does the scale work here? Do I need this to be a 3-block gap between windows, or 2 or 1? How is this going to work? And then I try fitting in those windows, and then I sometimes have to make modifications after the fact, where I'm like, okay, actually this doesn't look good, and I have to redo sections and move them around. And you'll see that a little bit later this episode with one of the builds. I add an extra block section in the middle to try to make it like more symmetrical. You see what I mean? But I ended up changing it back, because I was just like, I like it better the way it was originally, and I felt like it looked better. So all of that to say that if I do a live kind of section live, I don't know how to describe it. I guess just say live, but it's not live. It's pre-recorded, but I'm not time-lapsing it. Non-time lapse section, I should say. When I do that again, it's going to be more of a an update type style, like full on update, you know, do maybe a little bit here and there just to show you how I do what I do. But for the most part, it would, if I was doing a structure, I'd be like, okay, so here's a section, record a bit, talk about what I've done, cut, come back after building a section, talk about what I've done and that kind of a thing until it's finished, and then maybe do an overview of like why I did some of these things, but just kind of to bring you along the journey in a sense, but in a more segmented manner, just because it's so much easier to film it that way. Because I mean, editing the second episode took so long, because you can imagine if you have over an hour of footage and I have to go through and decide which bits I want to cut, and each bit that I cut I had to watch multiple times because I had to know exactly when I wanted to cut and when I wanted to bring it back. And you know, that's a hard thing to figure out. I am actually going to shut up and stop talking here pretty soon. You have to let me know if you just want to have commentary the whole video, but I figure I shouldn't, because you know, there's a possibility you enjoy watching the time lapse with the music. I know sometimes I like that, and when I'm watching time lapse videos, I'm sitting there thinking, when will this guy shut his mouth and just let me enjoy the video? So I'm going to do that for you right now. So I'll see you later when we go to the tour. and welcome to the non-time-lapse portion of this video. That's the terminology I decided on. Okay, well, anyways, I just wanted to tour you through some of the stuff that we did. Turn that off. So you can see here, right, this is the building that I was talking about that had to grow on me. And I'm going to show you without shaders, actually, just because I want you to kind of see, like, what did it look like while I was building it? Because like I said in episode 2, I don't build with shaders on. And it's a little bit darker. I think it actually works a little better with this kind of a building because it's darker, but I wanted it to be a pale orange, so I also kind of like it in shaders for different reasons for both. You can kind of see other builds here without shaders on, but I'm going to turn those right back on very quickly. BSL apply. Done. Okay. So you can see here some of the builds we did today, and I can't remember if I showed putting trees around this. I know one thing I did not show in the time lapse that maybe you caught but probably didn't is this roof area up here that I updated after I built the building off camera. I thought about recording it after I did it, so it was a bit late by that point. So you can kind of see I went for this like very rooftop restaurant thing. The building that I was basing this off of had something similar. I changed it a lot, but I also, one thing I did keep is that it like thinned near the front of the building, like the front facade, and then it like came out at an angle, and I really liked the look of that. So I tried my best. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but I like it. I think it's okay, especially from like a glance, because I think when you're building, especially like a large project like this, like a city in Minecraft, yes, you want your builds to look good individually, but sometimes you have to be willing to let it be just okay, knowing that some buildings are going to be background buildings. Like, think of these two buildings over here, right? These two last structures are the two last ones that I built in the video, and you can kind of see they're fairly basic in their design. I think they look good. I think they hold up. I love the entrance to this one here, like a lot, but this one over here is relatively basic, but it's quaint. And most importantly, when you're in this plaza, it adds a nice color tone. It brings the brick back in, which I wanted, like the brick colors, and they just work really well as background builds to help accent builds that I want you to pay more attention to, which I think is really important, right? If you're building something in Minecraft, composition is really important. Any art form, composition is important. These three are all from the old world, but had modifications. And then back here is one that is not from the old world, but that I didn't record. Again, it wasn't until after I finished it that I was like, oh, I should have recorded that. It's not done. You can tell by the level of detail that I put on other roofs, which ones have been completed, or which ones have been completed and which ones haven't. Even though this one has had some work done on the roof, I'm not super happy with it. It needs a lot more, but I do like the building. And you might be wondering, what's with the bright color scheme? This is based off of a building in New York. It might, if you want to look for it, you can find it in Google Earth. I don't know the address or anything, obviously, but it's near the Woolworth building in like City Hall. You look around a little bit, you will see it, because it is like almost these exact colors in real life, which is a part of the reason why I chose it. Because I was like, I saw it and I was instantly, my brain was, that is cyan concrete and yellow concrete right there. That is, it's blocky, so it'd be easy to replicate in Minecraft. Like, there are some buildings that just really work. I do want to say that like this area is filling out a bit. I think it's definitely starting to really become one of my favorite parts in the very small section of city we have built. I can actually show, because I have Zero's map mod. This is the entire map right now. I have a sketch that I've done of what I want the landmass to look like. So I generally know like how I want the land to look and how I want this to come down, right? There's going to be this right here. This whole gap here is going to be where my version of Central Park is going to be. So you can see this is like the edge of the land. This is going to come down straight. And then once it hits like around this area, it's going to come at an angle, come back at an angle, and then come up back this way. There's going to be another bridge crossing the river to the south part of the city, which is called Winsdale. It's another city. And then this is state lines here, like right here. This is like the state markers. This is another state, but I do want to build some things on the other side. You can see I've worked on some stuff, but it's very, very rough, extremely rough. like builds that have been only half completed rough. But anyways, I figure I'll take you past the baseball stadium, which also is very much unfinished. It's seen a little bit of love here and there, bits and pieces that I add, but for the most part, this thing is not at all done, and probably not close to being done. It's a chore, but I like it, and I like what it's going to look like in the end, because I have it envisioned. I'm basing this off of Oracle Park in San Francisco, but I'm making a lot of modifications, like a lot of modifications. I'm basically just taking like the color scheme and the vibe, and I looked at a lot of images of what a baseball stadium looks on the inside. The FBI probably has me on some kind of watch list because I looked up, Oracle Park blueprints multiple times, couldn't find anything too good, but I kept looking it up, and yeah, so because of that, I do imagine that the FBI are probably watching, and to which I say hello. The shape is weird. There's a whole story behind that. Well, technically there's 2 stories. I'm getting distracted, but I do want to explain this. The actual logical real life story is that I specifically wanted it to be this long so that there wasn't an awkward space on this side where the highway comes in because of how the grid layout works, and I didn't want to move the stadium, so I just extended it. The lore answer, the world building answer, is that when the original stadium would have been built around this field, probably in the mid 19th century, so like mid 1800s, that their rival team had a really amazing batter, and he would always hit home runs, but his best home runs and the majority of his home runs were on the right field, so out that direction. So in order to basically, out of petty spite, in order to try to combat the opposite team's star batter, they purposely built the field to be extended on the right side. Because if you weren't aware, in baseball, you can make the outfield, like, there's a lot of wiggle room with how big an outfield can be and what shape it can be, which is one thing I did learn while doing research. Didn't know that. Very interesting. And I did also know that there is some historical precedence for teams building outfields that are specially designed for certain players on their teams. But I went a step further and made it more funny by making it that they just wanted to make it hard for the other team because that's the most hilarious thing. And why it would have remained this way is, I imagine, just because it is the rival team, probably even to this day is the rival team. It's, in a sense, it's just like tradition, right? It's their way of mocking them forever and ever, saying, we specially designed a stadium to go against your team. Even if it was like well over 100 years ago at this point, we did it because it's hilarious. Yeah, I love that reasoning, so I've stuck with it. Stadiums are something that I typically do piecemeal. I can't do it all at once because there's just so much, and I get bored, and then I hate doing it, and then I do things that I hate, and then I end up tearing it out. So in order to save my sanity, I'm doing it piecemeal when I feel like it. And because of that, I probably won't record any of it. But I'll do check-ins here and there so that you guys know what's going on. But anyways, after that distraction, here's our other building. Ignore that one. That one's not staying. I love it, but it's not staying there. At least it's going somewhere else, but it's not staying there. Here, my favorite building. I love the top of this thing. If I just come in, you can see these ones here. If I get out of that, these fence gates, you might have noticed in the time lapse that they were closed and broken and down for some reason. I don't know why, but I fixed them after I edited that clip, and I looked back and I was like, oh, that is very noticeable and very ugly. I don't know how I missed that while I was building. Probably, as I was saying during the time lapses, I was just going fast and building what I thought looked good in the moment and just like ignoring all common sense and just kind of going fast, which I am trying to be better about. But I do love this building. Like, I genuinely absolutely love it. I think it's gorgeous. It's so cool. I love the window design. I love the top with the curves and the arches and this tall wall section with these bits that come out. I think, I'm sure there's someone out there who could do a better job, but I am very happy with what I did. I am very happy with it. I think it's really cool looking. The last thing I want to show you, another thing that I built off camera over here, this structure, based off of, I think, a hotel. I assume it's a hotel. It might be apartments in New Jersey. I brought it here. I made a lot of modifications. If you find the building in New Jersey, it's right next to New York City. I think it's in Jersey City. You'll find it, and you'll see like what I'm talking about with the modifications, specifically with the parking garage and everything. I made mine separate because I don't want my parking garage to be part of the hotel, but rather I wanted this to be a parking garage for the waterfront in general. Because as you can see, a park is being built over here that's going to connect our waterfront that goes out this way with the green space and all of these walking areas, which there will be some pedestrian overpasses over the highway. Like I think there's going to be one about here, one here, and then one on the other side of the helipad. That helipad's are right over there. And so I wanted this area to be like a very beautiful park. This is something from my old world that has been modified a lot. Not a ton, but it's been modified quite a bit. I don't know how much I like it, but I do kind of like it. This park in general is supposed to be like my interpretation of like Battery Park, but again, my interpretation of it. So it's a loose interpretation. But as you can see, there's paths that are going to be coming out this way and connecting all this up that just doesn't exist yet. And from the last episode, you might notice that I did use that trick again of using the sphere, right? The brush tool and applying it to the grass and creating lines that I liked and then going over them. And there are bits and pieces that I might want to go back and tweak, little sections, but overall, I'm very happy with it. I am happy with what I did this episode. I genuinely think it fits in very well. I like all of the stuff that I've done. There's still some roofs that need some detailing and things like that I'll probably go back to off camera. Maybe will arrive in the next episode. You'll see just some me going back to old buildings and putting on AC units and things. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But with all that said, I'm going to wish you goodbye. I'll see you in an actual week this time. I said I'll see you in a week the first episode, and then it was only 6 days. An actual week this time. The recording schedule will be on Wednesdays for this. I'm positive. Unless something bad happens. But it will be Wednesdays. And with that, this was episode 3. I hope that you have another good week. I hope this last week was great. I hope, this coming week is great. The world's a little scary in some times right now. There's lots of things going on. And so I just hope everyone's out there staying safe and happy and healthy. And with that, bye-bye.